So I know that people will probably still continue to show, but we're going to go ahead and begin and let things roll as they do. Okay, so the prime topic for today that I want to discuss is the year of the villain. It's not everybody fully understands it. I'm positive, so I want to make sure that it is known. The year of the villain is supposed to be basically player run. I have uh, set up parameters for certain NPCs, high level NPCs that with specific targets, and that for them to go after. Now, that does not mean that that's the only target. That does not mean that's the only thing that they are doing. That just means that that's their prime directive. And the role plays and events and characters are all rolled off by the player running that character. So they will be doing things like, they'll be running little events in theory, GA battles and uh, role plays that spur off from what they're doing. Yes, this is the first time that I have put that into somebody else's hands. Generally speaking, I run all the big storylines myself, and I've been doing it for what 12 years, something like that. But I decided to try something different this time. I wanted to put that in a series. There's 13 of them, 13 individuals' hands. Let them run some big lines. Now, you may ask, well, why did you choose to do that with NPCs instead of player characters? Well, the reason is player characters can only reach a certain level, okay, and and that's great and awesome, and it's terrific role play. There's so many things that can still be done at a player character level. But in order to make them a true threat, NPCs have access to a higher level of to a higher threat level, for lack of a better word. Maru, Nargoroth, myself. NPCs can access a much greater level of threat than a player character can. Player characters can be quite potent, yes. You know, um, Deanin, for example, can pose a significant threat, but that threat is limited to the level that they can reach. And NPCs, on the other hand, they have 300 hit points, basically, whereas a player character may have, you know, 150, 200 hit points. NPCs have 300 hit points, okay? 315 or something like that. And they have uh, automatic, you know, max level gear as far as they can achieve because they are designed for one person to fight against 10. Okay, an NPC is designed. Yes, that's exactly what I just said. Uh, player characters don't generally have access to MA level, okay, Magister Apprentice, or in three of the cases, Master levels. Uh, Player characters don't have access to that, generally speaking. To become Magister Apprentice level or Magister level, you have to be part of the Conclave. Okay? But, well, even player characters, even the Magisters and Magister Apprentices don't have 300 hit points. Okay? But NPCs do. Okay? Because NPCs are designed to fight 10, 15, 20 people. Okay? All right? And so they are naturally given extra hit points. Because if you, let's say you're going to fight Master Apprentice Aval over there. Now he has somewhere in the vicinity of 200 hit points himself, right? You know, well, 140. There you go. Now, if he grabs a bunch of other people fighting beside him, and he fights someone else with 140 hit points, that person's going to get torn down in seconds flat and never really be able to get everything done that they need to do. Okay, so NPCs have 300 hit points. Dragons. Dragons have pretty good hit points. Jill Thorne, and she has the highest level of hit points that you can achieve as she's Magister Apprentice, and and her Age of Dragon is the highest level of hit points she can get because she's also fifth level Druid or something. All right, but an NPC dragon is going to have all the same powers as she does. You know, breath weapon, flight, tail swipe, um, a wing flap, uh, magic. Not all of those things plus 300 hit points, so that that dragon can survive in a battle versus 10, 15 people. Okay, so that's why I chose to make the supervillains all NPCs. Because if let's say I had said, "Hey, Deanon, I would like you to start a role play where you're fighting 15 people." Well, how long do you think Dean is gonna last? Dean has what, 110 hit points, maybe? Okay, he's gonna get torn apart in 5 minutes. That's gonna be a short battle, isn't it? Right, it's gonna be a short battle. So I chose to do this with NPCs. All right. Now, I I gave some base back level for the NPCs so that they are part of the storyline of an individual. All right, Master Apprentice of Evolve. Since he's in front of me, I'm going to pick on him. Uh, his opponent, his natural opponent, is someone directly from his past somewhere. Okay, from his childhood or whatever it happens to be. The villain is someone's childhood friend, or yeah, see, there's a good one. You know, uh, a previous enemy, or an ex-husband, ex-wife, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend. It's someone who is part of that person's history. Okay, whether it's an event that occurred, like in this particular case, someone who captured him in the past, or if it's someone from their role play backstory, like Sable Cat. She here? Yeah, she's in the room. Her villain is someone that she killed or thought she killed when uh, prior to leaving the Fey Woods, and that's why she left in the first place. Well, it turns out that that individual either did not die or was brought back to life and is not happy with her. So that particular individual is going after her, tooth and nail. Now, how the villain role plays themselves out, it's going to be very, very different from depending on the player. Whether they are a misunderstood simpleton, like the like Grizz, the rock troll, or whether it's whether it's a malicious, cunning, manipulative uh, type, like the Illithid might be, because each each player chooses what their role play is going to be for their thing. I'm not detailing that, okay? I just rolled out the map. It's up to the people to decide how they're going to do that. All right? It's up to the player to just to craft their own little corner that they're throwing out there. Yes, this is a different thing than I've ever done before. All right, but it does have a great deal of potential, and uh, it really allows those 13 people to set forth some high scale, high level of role play that they can engage in. Okay, so hopefully we'll see more and more of that as people move along and they start understanding what they're supposed to be doing, And it's just because I really want them to work it out. Now, they can, hopefully, they'll work with their opposite in order to flesh out what they're doing. That's the plan. And they can figure it out and set things up and set skirmishes and GA battles and particular role plays so that they are all part of what's going on. Okay? Now, they're not only just going to fight uh, that particular player. So just because you see uh, one of the villains and you know that X person is their target, it doesn't mean you can't engage with them. Okay? Because that is not the only thing that they are doing. Okay? That just happens to be their prime target. And how they go about doing that can be 100 different ways. I'm giving them the option of playing with that. Okay? Does all of that make sense? Okay? Oh yes, the main target has everyone to back them up. Okay? Everyone is the backup to that main target. and the person who's after their main target, they may that main target may not even be there. Yes, and yeah, that's different too. The villains have as many allies as they can muster, and if the villain is after a certain target and then they attack in a GA battle or whatever, GA battle is really the only time that there's a, a target could be captured. Uh, okay, give here's an example. Uh, Ariella Bellman is one of the targets. Okay, she just logged in, so I'm gonna see if I can drag her here. Now, if her particular villain is going after her and that is not the villain that comes to the GA battle, for example, someone else like Grist or one or the Irda or um, whoever it happens to be. Now, that villain is not there to kill Ariella because someone else is after her, but they might capture her and bring her back to the villain. That's really the only time that you know they're after that person. And out of courtesy, because they want their courtesy themselves, they're probably not going to kill her. They're going to try to take her back to her actual villain, so her villain can kill her. Now your job is to stop that from happening. All right, and so you have the opportunity to defend her and start smacking that villain upside the head. Okay. Now, like I said, all the villains have different personalities. They're going to think differently. They're going to do differently. They're going to go about doing what they do differently. Okay. So just because you encounter one, don't expect that every one of the villains is going to act the same way because they're not. It's really going to depend upon the player who's running that character. I purposefully allowed them to flesh out their own individual. I want them to think on how they want to roll things. Now, some people, don't think big picture, okay? And that's okay. And if that person, if the if that player is not a big picture type, then they're probably going to straight up just run uh, run in and try to eliminate their foe in a straightforward, hands-on, down and dirty fashion. Okay, and are some people play their character like they're supposed to be a simpleton. Like Grist is a good example. You know, very much Bizarro from Superman, which means misunderstood simpleton, but does not mean less dangerous. Still high level, still lots of power there. Just you know doesn't think on a uh, doesn't think in a let's move the pieces on a chessboard format, which some will be. You know, some villains are going to think on a chessboard level. They're like, all right, I'm going to I have access to these villains and I have access to some these allies, and I'm going to send them in. I'm going to run a GA battle over here, led by somebody that I controlled. You know, Grist. Let's say the rock troll because it's easily manipulated. Say, all right, I'm going to do that, and that's going over here. And while that's happening, I'm going to be over here stealing this so that I can kill X person at the next battle. Yeah, there's going to be, depending on the player that's running that villain, they're going to think differently. No two people are going to think the same, and that's why, another reason, why I chose to run this. Okay? Because I'm allowing the players to have a heavier hand in during this roleplay, You're the Villain, and see what kind of things that they can do. Now, some people, admittedly, aren't um, naturally inclined to do all those things, and so they might need help from other people, and that's fine too. There are people out there that have the mindset, and they might seek that uh, aid, and that's perfectly fine. The I leave all that up to those players. All right, now I hope you guys all have questions because you know this is a big thing, and if no one's thinking about it at all ever, then it's it puts it all right back in my hands. Okay, I'm doing this to give you guys all the ability to run the show for a little while. And when people don't have questions, people aren't, then it goes back into my hands. Okay, Jalil Thorne, go ahead. Okay, all right. Now, as far as the, that's fine. That's not a problem. As far as where, as far as, okay, first off, as far as what races the characters, the NPCs are, all of it, well, you'll have to talk to the individual uh, and set it up so that they know each other. Okay, that's the whole point of it. Okay, the whole point is that they knew each other somehow. Okay, somehow they know each other. All right, so you talk to the target and and come up with how they know each other, what their previous relationship is. Okay, the villain and the target have some previous relationship, whether they were, you know, best friends or, you know, it's a, you know, merchant that ripped them off, or, you know, millions of possibilities. Okay. Or in the case of Master Apprentice of All, he's the former captive of the individual, and could be childhood best friends, ex girlfriend, ex boyfriend. There's so many possibilities. You guys, the villain and the target should put themselves together and figure it out. Now, I have the race that your character is would definitely could have easily been in the uh, Fey plane. Okay, easily. All right. So where they were at is easy. They do have access to that. Just because they're not a Fey does not mean they don't have access to that. Okay. And like the Illithids, obviously they are uh, not earthbound, so they're going to be in space, as quote unquote you might say. Um, but that doesn't mean that there's not a possibility of coming across each other. You know, let's say that your particular villain is one from the Underdark, and you are a sun elf. That's about as far apart as you can get. Well, you two sit down and talk about it and figure out how you can have known each other. Okay? Yes. So you just, and that is totally fine. You just sit down with that person and get it squared away. Okay. Do, 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 do. Sorry. There we go. All right. Yeah, and that is the key element there. So figure out, get with your player. Villains get with your player. Player get with your villain. And come up with how you were connected in the past. Okay? And don't just come up and say, hey, you know what? I think that I knew Billy Bob because one day I was walking down the road and I tripped and fell on my face, and Billy Bob was passing me by and said, hey, help me out. And Billy Bob just walked past me. Now, talk to Billy Bob, all right, and figure out how that how that link happened, all right, and that will that will make a much better story. Okay, it makes a much better story. So when you fell on your face and Billy Bob didn't help you, all right, that has you can even start there and say, okay, that's my character thinks that Billy Bob is a jackhat because I fell on my face and bloodied my nose and he just walked off. Well, you get with Billy Bob, talk to him, and and maybe on and let Billy Bob throw his ideas into it and say, hey, you know what? My character didn't even see you fall there. I was in my own little world. I was whistling a tune, and I was thinking about Snow White and the other six dwarves, you know? And Snow White's hot, you know? And you fell on your face, so I wasn't even thinking about you. So, but that's a good place to start. Because you guys have come together, figured out how, even though that scenario I just gave you, that's such a tertiary encounter that, wouldn't normally result in arch enemies. But let's say when that villain fell in the face and the busted the nose, they were in a really bad mindset, you know. The and so the first person they saw suddenly became their, and that's why, you know, because they got up this morning, they stubbed their toe on the way to work, and then they ran out of gas, and then somebody sideswiped them, and then their car rolled about 180 feet, which personal thing here, and they rolling over, and so they get out, and you know what? First person they saw suddenly became their enemy. All right, you two sit down and figure that out. All right, it can make for a really really good story. And yes, of course, I could tell everyone all the things, but you know what? That's not what I'm trying to do here with this Year of the Villain. Year of the Villain is I'm trying to get the players to run their own scenario for that particular. Will this character survive at the end of the year? Hey, I don't know. That's not even a thing. We're not even worried about that yet. That's way down the road. But I tell you that they will survive for the year. Okay, they they are not going to die the first time that you encounter them. Even if you win the battle, they're not they're not just going to roll over and die. These NPCs are continue at least through this at least through the year of the villain. And here's another element for all of you that do not know this. There is a mystery individual somewhere out there that has given all of these villains, all these characters, extra power so that they can take on their their enemy. All right? They didn't all these characters didn't just wake up one day and have this extra power. There's a mystery individual who has one by one they have gathered the 13th company together and said, "Hey, you know what? I'll give you X power so that you can be awesome enough to go beat Billy Bob and Bobby Sue." All right? That's why they have this extra power. And no one knows why this person's doing it or who this person is. And some people will care and some people won't. But there's something moving behind the scenes that no one's going to really know. Yes, Jello Silverwolf, go ahead. There, of course, if you choose to do a role play battle, then a meter battle will go on elsewhere. Okay, that's right. Like this last time, the with Ariella encountering two of the villains. Not her villain, by the way. Her villain was not available that day, and two other villains came out of the woodwork to try to capture her. Okay, now that was a role play battle, but while the role play battle was going on, a GA battle was taking place on the ground with the forces that work for the bad guys, quote unquote, fighting, meter fighting the players. All right. Now, okay, that brings up a point that I want to bring up is that yes, some people know this is going on. Like example, the magician. Now, the roleplay reason why entire armies cannot just invade is because there is a spell called funnel. All right, which makes it so that only small numbers of people can attack at a time. That's why when an army comes in, you only see like 10, 15 people or whatever it is. And then if somebody dies, somebody comes in and replaces them because the spell funnel is what's happening. Instead of a thousand troops running in and invading. Now, that's the roleplay reason. Obviously, the OOC reason is because a sim can only hold maybe 40 people. We have had a couple of hundred people on a sim all fighting against each other in the past, and it causes pea soup. So we try not to do 100 people at a time. So the roleplay reason for that is because of the spell funnel. Okay. And uh, Master Apprentice of All is true. There are also all kinds of skirmishes that can be rolled out. Uh, and all kinds of small scale events that can all be rolled out. I'm leaving all that into the hands of the villains, but there's many things that they can play out. But as far as the big GA battle goes that they are in, they can either run a meter battle themselves, or they can run a roleplay battle, and a meter battle will still occur, just not with them as the lead. And mind you, when in roleplay battles, the individuals running the roleplay battles don't wear meter. What? It's not what? What's your question? Yes, they can do both. That's correct. They can do both. Yes, they can. They can do both. If they are running a roleplay battle, then outside of their little roleplay battle that they're doing, there is a meter battle going on. All right? It's still happening. There's still a meter combat going on, even though they themselves may be doing this little roleplay battle over here. There's still a meter battle occurring because we are the GA and we meter battle. It does not mean that roleplay battle doesn't exist. Now that's too hard to write, but it's occurring at the same time. They themselves are not doing both at the same time, but it's occurring at the same time. Does that make sense? Jill Thorne, I will look at the thing you sent as soon as I can. Sorry, 15 IMs. So all the people who are sending me stuff and I haven't reached you is because you're lower than my screen will actually hold. All right, now. Do remember that role play battles, when you're typing, you are never going in an hour of role play battle is not going to be the same amount as a meter battle. So be prepared if you're gonna do that. Just remember that the meter fight is a GA battle lasts an hour thereabouts. So you have an hour to knock out everything that you want to do. So I would
Mic
start
on.
much sooner.
Mic
You
off.
know, they can start whenever they want. Okay, and I would recommend you start way before and let it keep rolling. And if you two want to continue it for the next 2 hours, that's fine. But the GA battle has a specific time that it starts, a specific time it ends. How you want to roll it is up to you, because I'm letting the villains lead their stuff. Yeah. Now you will have to you will have to OOC pause, come to the come to the AAR. That's fine. If you guys want to keep going after that, that's cool. AAR is still going to happen when the meter battle is going to happen when it. If you want to OOC pause the universe, say beep 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 timeout. The magician is giving out goodies. So we can come and kill each other again in a second. Hold on. Beep beep beep. It's cool. Because AAR is still going to happen when it does. Because loot crates go out to everyone that comes to a battle. All right? Even the role players, even the observers. If you are at the role play battle, if you are at the meter battle, if you are uh, lending support by sitting there and watching the event, get to if you are judging, you get access to the loot crates. Right? It's a reward, quote unquote, for and that happens at every GA battle. Okay. I'm trying to close some of these messages they're sending. People are sending me. I apologize. Okay. It's now down to at least all fits on my screen. All right. Um, I'm glad you're starting to ask questions anyway. Hopefully, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Any other questions? That's right. Actually, there's a good point there. I'm glad that was all brought up. As I said, she was the target of the last battle, and even though her opponent did not able to make it that day, there were still some other villains that decided to pick up the gauntlet, carry her away, and bring her back to her actual. And exactly, there's my where I was going. Just because that villain didn't make it that day does not mean that they cashed their card in. No, their card is still out there. That just means that their dance card has not been filled yet. So just because Billy Bob wasn't at the last battle, but Billy Bob's target was, doesn't mean that Billy Bob is bowing. Billy Bob's still gonna show up. Okay, he just hasn't decided to. His target of opportunity has not been there. You know, it does not mean that Billy Bob gave up. Just because Bobby Sue and Sally Jane were the ones on the field, don't does not mean Billy Bob isn't coming. No, I want the RP battlers in the same space. Okay, so they just need to know the meter battle fighters need to know don't that this space is where the role players are. Don't go in there and try to attack people. They don't have meters on. Okay, if you see someone without a meter, you shouldn't hit them. Okay, that's a no-brainer. Okay, they fight or they fight elsewhere, outside of it, in a circle, whatever it is. It's okay. I'll answer all those things. They, okay, role play battlers should not have meters on. Okay, the role play combatants should not have meters on. And yes, we have had them elsewhere, floating around in the sky, so that they're not seen. Yeah, if there's a meter now, definitely if you see a meter, you fight. So role play combatants should not have meters on. Totally true. And if I put them on the observation deck, then it makes it seem like they're playing D&D because they go. That means that they're away from everything else and they're grabbing their dice because they are. They're basically, you know, they're role playing. They're sitting there in front of each other and talking about what they're doing. So, but should not have they should not have meters on. The role play fighters should not be wearing meters. Okay? And as a judge, you need to tell when you see people set up, it's like you need to already know, all right, this is the role play fighters and these are the meter fighters. And then the judge should say, all right, the role play fighters are all in this circle right here. No, if someone's wearing a meter, then they are not role play fighting. Then they deserve to get their uh, backsides handed to them. Okay, if they're wearing a meter, they're wrong. They deserve to get their backsides handed to them. Okay, Yeah, we might. Let me look and see if there is room in the group. Let's see here. Doom 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 doom. Oh, I'm looking at trying to get to the GARP here. Slowly scrolling it down. All right, letting it. But they should not be wearing meters if they are not meter fighting. What? It's some reason it's not letting me make a new roll. It should easily do that. Ah, Jalil Coyote, Valshar's Coyote. Apparently, I don't have the ability to make. You're owner of this group of GARP, and I apparently do not have the ability to make stuff in this. So, if you could either give me that ability or make the rolls yourself, I'd appreciate it. But anyway, let's see here. Back where we are. But just tell your roleplay fighters, do not wear meters. Okay? The tag is cool, but definitely don't wear a meter. Alright? As long as you don't have a meter, people can't hit you. Okay? If you wear a meter, you have allowed yourself to be smacked upside the head. Yes, I want them in the same space. Okay? I want them in the same space. Okay? It is not, there are not so many people there that it causes a lot of lag. Now, if we're looking at 40, 50 people, 100, that's different. But when we're looking at 20, it's not a big deal. Okay? So the role play fighters can all sit in a circle in or do whatever they're doing in their same space. They just don't wear meters. Okay? If you're not wearing a meter, then nobody can hit you. Nobody can smack you upside the head. The meter fighters are going to be looking for a meter. If you're not wearing a meter, no one can hit you. That's right. If you see someone with a meter on, they deserve to be smacked. So, roleplay fighters don't wear a meter. Period. Okay? Yes. Uh I can't see if you're male or female, so uh Jalil or Jaluk Kilratir. If you want to be part of a battle, then uh to where then first off, I would figure out what your class and all that jazz is gonna be. Uh Talk to Jill Silverwolf. She'll start you out. Okay? And then the battles are pretty awesome, so just start with her. Talk, send her an IM. You guys can chat about it She'll help you out. Yes, Jill Silverwolf. Okay, Jalil Kiratalier. Yes, that's why I sent him her. That's why I sent her to talk to you, so you can help her figure out what guild she's in. That's right. Yes, I did make a mistake with the Purple Rain roleplay by having the role players wear meters, but that was the first time I had ever put the two things together. Okay, I I learned from that mistake, and now my roleplay fighters don't wear meters. Okay, that's correct. Ungilded players fight as a level one warrior if they wish to fight. That is correct. But if you want to go past level one warrior, then you join a guild. So, as again, uh, Jalil Kirtalir, I recommend you talk to Jalil Silverwolf, Ranger Lord Silverwolf, so she can help. Yeah, you can still fight. You, unless you join a guild, you're a level one warrior, and that's perfectly rational. There are people who do that, you know. But the thing about death in this in an online game is who cares? You're dead. You get brought back to life, and you go smack some more people in the head. That's why you have priests. Yeah. You could also, since Magister Apprentice of All is already chatting to you about it, you know, he's giving you a base rundown on how it works. But yeah, there you go. Yeah. Anyway, but there you go. Uh, there are plenty of plenty of healers. In fact, the leader of the Healers Guild is in this room right now. Jalil Bellman. She is the high priest of the Healers Guild. So if you want to talk about healers, she's the person to talk to. Okay. Any other questions about Year of the Villain? The people are starting to get the idea that it's player driven. That the reason that I made NPCs for it is because they can last longer than a player, um, and that there is a secret, mysterious entity behind it all. Uh, Hopefully, all of that makes sense. I think Jill Ronette crashed because I did. I hopefully she's getting all this stuff too because she is has an important role to play. Okay, and maybe she's tired. She is from. It is middle of the night for her, 3 in the morning, I think, something like that. So for even beyond is crazy. Okay. Does everyone get where I'm going? Where this role play is? All right. All right. Good. Yes. And but again, the role play fighters if they're running a role play, are still going to happen in the middle of the fight. And it may not always be in the middle, but it's still going to be amongst. Okay, but they won't wear meters, so they can't get smacked. If people are wearing a meter, they can be smacked. I made that mistake in the Purple Rain. That was my fault. But that was the first time I had done that. First time I had mixed the oil and water together. Now I know that when you mix oil and water together, you got to keep your separator out there. Purple Rain, I'm glad you liked it. Apparently, it was so popular that one of our players gave my entire roleplay to another realm, and they ran the entire role play with a different name, but down to the very minute detail. So that means it was someone in power here that knew the entire role play, and they brought it over to another realm and advertised it as theirs. Oops, guess what? It was mine. But you know what? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. So I'm not mad at him. I'm not mad at them. That tells me that they loved it so much that they brought it somewhere else and just, you know, call it theirs. Hey, I'm not mad at them. They, you know, I would have appreciated that they had asked, but hey, I'm still not mad. It's all good. I'm glad you all liked it. All right, so this one I'm trying to put mainly in the hands of you guys. All right, I've given you the bare bones and the skeletons, and you're all and everyone that is involved, and that means everyone. They can contact me and ask me stuff. If I'm not online, because admittedly I have a really busy life. I work like all the time, and if you can't reach me, the POC for the that's point of contact for those of you that don't know. The POC for You're the Villain is Trinity Air. Okay? So if you have any questions and you don't have direct access to me, some of you do. Many of you have direct access to me, even if I'm not online. If you do, use it. If you don't, go through Jalil Air. That's Trinity Air. Jalil means lady for those of you that do not speak my native tongue. Which I know there are some people who don't. So, any questions about anything that we have talked about today? And do remember that if you are not one of the 13th company and you want to make an NPC villain to help with the bad guys, sometimes, not always, obviously, because we need good guys too. But you are welcome to make a monster that can, and the person who is in charge of my monsters is also in this room, and that is Jalil Malachite Thorn. Magister Apprentice Thorn is in charge of my monsters. So she can hook you up for any NPCs that you make. And remember, NPCs are designed to fight a lot of people, so they're going to have more hit points and more power because they have to. Otherwise, they don't last very long. And dead NPCs are dead. Yes, all of the villains are classed. Some of them, there are some mages, there are some rogues, warriors. Uh, but yes, you the villains decide who they are, except the three main except the three main villains. They have classes that I told them what they are. But if you're talking about the year of the villain or any villain, you decide all your own stuff. Okay, but the year of the villain, the hardcore, high level ones, um, I give them the races, and then they decide their own classes. Is that it? That's two different questions. I answered two different questions because I didn't know which one you were asking. My apologies. On the one hand, talk to Trinity. On the other hand, talk to Malachite, Jalil Thorn, or Jalil Air. Jalil Air is POC for the Year of the Villains. Jalil Thorn is POC for all villains, all monsters. Okay, yes, just only three of them have a set class. All the rest of them are freely chosen by the player. There's a Bixie who is a sage. There's a Banshee who is a mage, and there is a let's say Bixie, Banshee. Oh, the Lich is a mage. I'm sorry. The Banshee can be any class they want. Banshee I did not set. I wanted her to decide what class she was going to be. Okay, I didn't set that one because Banshee's, hey, you know what? But the Lich is a mage. That's a lizard man. Oh, Trinity just said. Okay, the Lich is a mage. The Bixie is a sage, and the Banshee is open. Now I can't see you. Are you my Lich? I mean, or are you my Banshee? Yeah. Okay. How about that? Yes, Banshee. You uh my okay, let me move my screen around here. You get to choose your own class, and you are Magister level. Those three are Magister level villains. You get to you get to pick what class you are. No restrictions on that. Okay, I see you now. Over by my rock troll. Yes. If you want to be a priest, go for it. If you want to be a mage, go for it. Warrior, that's open. And because the reason those three are magister level, because their opponent is magister level. And so they have to be, even though they can fight in any ever event, their arc is magister level, so they are. Okay. My apologies that I didn't know. No one told me what your banshee character's name was. So perfect, I am not. I'm pretty good, but perfect, not even close. All right. So excellent. Uh, do you have any questions about anything we've talked about? aside from the class question, which I already answered. And any of you, okay, I'm only going to do this for 15 more minutes because I have to go to work again. My apologies, but that's my life. You know, if you have questions and you do not have direct access to me, go through, and it's about this, go through Jalil Air. Yes, Gollum is definitely a both player and NPC possibilities. I have players that are golems, and I have NPCs that are golems. Player is obviously deeper. Golem is more if you feel like you want to smack people upside the head. I mean, the monsters are to fight. Players are to that's who you want to be, and that's all good. Golems are allowed on on both of those, and a player golem can fight and all that jazz. It's all good. And golems, there are a variety of golems. Even Metallica is a golem. It's a type of golem, but it's still a golem. For the you know for those of you who are familiar with the term Warforged, Metallica are basically the Warforged. Okay, uh, if there are no more questions, please uh, negotiate any further questions towards uh, Jalil Air. For 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 this, if you're monsters, to send them to Malachite Thorn. If it's guild related, talk to. If you're trying to figure out what guild you want to be in, talk to anyone, and they will help you push you in the direction that you need to be. And welcome Jalil Silverwolf to the conclave. I might as well go ahead and throw that out there while I'm in the while before I walk off. Jalil Silverwolf has joined the conclave. Bella Das, Bindas for now.